The house didn't look like a home. It looked like a warning. Standing at the edge of Blackwood Creek, the Victorian mansion loomed against the gray sky like a bruised thumb. Its windows were tall and narrow, resembling eyes that had seen too much and refused to close. James parked the car, the gravel crunching loudly under the tires, a harsh sound that made me wince. He killed the engine, and silence rushed in to fill the space, heavy and suffocating. I shouldn't be here. That was the thought pounding in my head. I should be back in the city, surrounded by lights and noise and people. But James insisted. He said we needed space. He said the city was choking us. Looking at this rotting pile of wood and stone, I felt like the choking was only just beginning. "Emily, are you coming?" James's voice broke my trance. He was already at the front door, struggling with a rusted key. I stepped out of the car. The air here smelled different, damp, earthy, with a faint metallic tang that reminded me of old copper coins or dried blood. The wind whipped my hair across my face as I walked up the rotting wooden steps. They groaned under my weight, a low, mournful creak that vibrated through the soles of my shoes. The inside was vast. A grand staircase dominated the foyer, spiraling up into shadows that the afternoon light couldn't reach. Dust motes danced in the stale air. James dropped the boxes on the floor, the sound echoing through the empty halls like a gunshot. "It needs a little work," he admitted, wiping sweat from his forehead. "But imagine the potential, Em. A nursery in the East Wing, a library for you." He smiled, that charming, boyish smile that used to melt my heart. Now it just looked strained. A nursery. He was still hoping. After everything we lost, he was still planning for a future I wasn't sure I could give him. I forced a smile back. "It's huge, James. I'll give you that." That first night was the hardest. James fell asleep instantly, his breathing steady and deep. But I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. The darkness in this house wasn't empty. It felt thick, alive. I could hear the house settling, at least that's what I told myself. But the sounds were wrong. It wasn't just wood expanding, it was rhythmic. Thump, drag, thump, drag. Like someone with a heavy limp walking in the attic above us. I sat up, my heart hammering against my ribs. I held my breath, straining my ears. The sound stopped, immediately, as if whatever was making it knew I was listening. I shook James. "James, wake up!" I whispered, my voice trembling. He groaned, rolling over. "What? What is it?" "There's someone upstairs," I hissed. He listened for a moment, eyes half closed. Silence. Absolute, mocking silence. "It's the wind, Em," he mumbled, closing his eyes again. "Old houses make noise. Go back to sleep." But I didn't sleep. I lay there until the sun bled through the curtains, turning the gray room a sickly yellow. Over the next 3 days, the isolation started to rot my nerves. James left for work early and came back late. I was alone with the house. I explored every room, trying to claim the space, to make it mine. But the house rejected me. Doors would drift shut on their own. The temperature would drop 20 degrees in the hallway for no reason. It was on the 4th day that I found it. I was in the basement, looking for the fuse box after the lights flickered out. The basement was a maze of old stone and cobwebs. I found the fuse box, but as I turned to leave, my flashlight beam caught something in the far corner. A shelf. But not just a shelf. Behind the rotting wood of the shelf, there was an outline. A door. A hidden door. I pushed the heavy shelf aside, the wood screeching against the concrete floor. There it was. A small, wooden door, no taller than a child. It was painted a deep, dark red. There was no handle, only a heavy iron lock, rusted shut. I knelt down, bringing my face close to the keyhole. I don't know why I did it. Instinct, maybe? Or madness. I pressed my ear against the cold wood. And then I heard it. Not from the house, not from the pipes, but from the other side of that tiny locked door. Breathing. Slow, raspy, wet breathing. Someone was standing right on the other side, waiting. I didn't scream. Screaming implies you have breath in your lungs, but the air had been punched right out of me. I scrambled back, my heels scraping against the gritty concrete, kicking up dust. I didn't turn my back on that red door. I couldn't. I crab-walked backward until I hit the stairs, and then I ran. I ran up into the light, slamming the basement door shut and leaning my entire weight against it, as if my 120 pounds could hold back the darkness. It was real. It had to be real. Pipes don't breathe. Rats don't wheeze like an old man dying of pneumonia. When James came home that evening, I was sitting on the kitchen floor, clutching a steak knife. He dropped his keys, his face going pale. Emily? What the hell is going on? I dragged him to the basement door. I made him go down. I waited at the top of the stairs, shivering, listening for him to scream. But he didn't. After 5 agonizing minutes, he came back up, brushing spider webs off his shirt. "There's nothing there, Em," he said, his voice soft, like he was talking to a frightened child. I checked the fuse box. I checked the shelf. There is a small crawl space door, yes, but it's rusted shut. Probably hasn't been opened since the 1920s. "I heard breathing, James," I insisted, my voice rising. He sighed, rubbing his temples. "Honey, the insulation is old. The wind drafts through the foundation. It sounds like whistling or breathing. Look, I'll put a padlock on the basement door if it makes you feel better, okay?" He didn't believe me. I could see it in his eyes. He thought the isolation was breaking me. He thought I was having another episode. Maybe I was. The next 3 days were a blur of gray fog and silence. James put the padlock on the door, a shiny silver lock that looked out of place against the rotting wood. But the lock was for me, not for whatever was down there. He wanted to keep me out. I stopped going to the basement, but the house didn't stop speaking. The scratching moved. First, it was under the floor. Then it was in the walls, specifically the wall behind our headbed in the bedroom. It started every night at 3 a.m. Scritch, pause, scritch, pause. I bought a high-end digital recorder online. I told James it was for recording my thoughts for a journal. He seemed relieved I was finding a hobby. On Tuesday night, while James was at the hospital, I placed the recorder right against the gap between the floorboard and the wall. I hit record. I sat on the bed, staring at the little red light blinking in the dark. Blink, 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 like a heartbeat. I sat there for 4 hours. I didn't hear anything with my naked eyes, just the wind, just the house settling. The next morning, with the sunlight streaming in, making everything look safe and normal, I plugged the recorder into my laptop. I put on my noise-canceling headphones. The first 3 hours were just white noise, static, the hum of the refrigerator downstairs. I fast-forwarded. 3:15 on the recording timestamp. The static changed. It spiked. I turned the volume up to max. There was a sound, a wet, clicking sound, like a tongue hitting the roof of a dry mouth. Click, click, and then a whisper. It was faint, buried under the fuzz of the recording, but it was unmistakable. It wasn't the wind, it was a voice, a man's voice. I ripped the headphones off and threw them across the room. My stomach lurched. Mommy? We never had children. We tried. God, we tried. But we lost the baby 2 years ago. No one knew that. Only James, only me. How did the thing in the basement know? I waited. I waited until the red taillights of James's car disappeared around the dark bend of the road. 9:05 p.m. He was gone. I had 10 hours before his shift ended. I went to the garage and grabbed the crowbar. It was heavy, cold iron in my sweating palms. I wasn't the victim anymore. I was going to find out what or who was living under my feet. I marched down the basement stairs. I didn't tiptoe this time. I turned on every light. The red door stood there in the shadows, silent and imposing. The shiny silver padlock James had installed looked ridiculous against the rotting wood. It was easy to bypass. I didn't bother with the key. I jammed the crowbar behind the metal hasp and pulled with all my weight. The wood splintered with a loud crack, sounding like a gunshot in the enclosed space. The lock fell to the floor. I took a deep breath. The old, rusty lock built into the door was already broken. I realized it had been broken for a long time. I reached out and pushed the door. It swung open inward with a high-pitched screech that made my teeth ache. The smell hit me first. I expected rot. I expected mold. But it smelled like vanilla. My vanilla perfume. And bleach. A sickeningly clean smell in a dirty basement. I pointed my flashlight into the darkness. It wasn't a crawl space. It was a room. A perfectly square concrete room hidden behind the foundation. And it was furnished. There was a single mattress on the floor, stained yellow. A bucket in the corner. A small table with a half-eaten sandwich on it. The mold on the bread was fresh, but it was the walls that stopped my heart. They were covered in paper. Photographs. I stepped inside, the air turning ice cold around me. I shined the light on the wall. Hundreds of photos. There was a photo of me unpacking boxes last week. There was a photo of me sleeping on the couch, taken from the hallway. There was a photo of me standing in the shower, taken through a crack in the bathroom vent. My legs gave out. I grabbed the edge of the small wooden table to steady myself. On the table lay a leather-bound notebook, a diary. My hands shook so hard I could barely turn the pages. I flipped to the very last entry. The ink was fresh. It was still wet. The date was today. The handwriting was jagged and frantic. It read, "She broke the lock. She is standing in my room right now. She looks so beautiful when she is scared. It is time to say hello." A floorboard creaked directly above my head. In the kitchen, James was at work, but someone was walking in the kitchen. And then, the basement door behind me, the one leading up to the house, slammed shut. I threw my body against the basement door, screaming, "Open it! Let me out!" It didn't budge. I heard the lock click from the other side. A heavy metal slide bolt. He had locked me in his shrine. Then I heard his voice again. Not a whisper this time. He was standing right on the other side of the wood. "Mommy shouldn't snoop," he said. His voice was smooth, terrifyingly calm. "Now you have to wait for punishment." I heard his footsteps walk away, heavy boots on the hardwood floor. Thud, thud, thud. He was going to the kitchen. Think, Emily, think. You are going to die in this room if you don't move. I spun around, scanning the secret room with my flashlight. The air was getting thin. My eyes landed on the far wall, behind the mattress. A vent, an old, rusted metal grate used for ventilation. It was small, maybe 2 feet wide, but I was small too. I grabbed the crowbar. My hands were slippery with sweat. I jammed the tip into the screw of the grate and twisted. It was rusted tight. I I screamed in frustration, smashing the crowbar against the metal. Clang! The screw gave way. Then the second one. I ripped the grate off the wall, tearing my fingernails. Behind it lay a tunnel of darkness, a crawl space under the house foundation. I squeezed my head inside. It smelled of wet earth and dead things. Spiderwebs brushed against my face like sticky, invisible fingers. I pushed my shoulders through. It was tight, so tight. My chest scraped against the rough concrete. I had to crawl on my elbows, dragging my legs behind me. Scrape, pull, scrape, pull. I was sobbing quietly, tears mixing with the dust on my face. Something scurried over my hand. A rat. I bit my lip to stop from screaming. If I screamed, he would hear me. I crawled for what felt like hours, but it was probably only minutes. Up ahead, I saw a sliver of light, slats of wood. The pantry. The ventilation shaft led behind the pantry in the kitchen. I reached the slats and pushed. They were loose. I tumbled out of the wall, crashing onto the pantry floor, covered in dirt and blood. I was back in the house. I scrambled to my feet. The kitchen was empty, but on the counter, a knife block was missing. I ran to the back door, locked. I fumbled with the deadbolt. It wouldn't turn. I looked closer. The keyhole had been filled with superglue. I ran to the window, painted shut. I grabbed the landline phone from the wall. Dead silence. No dial tone, just the sound of my own erratic breathing. Found you. The voice came from the living room shadows. I spun around. Standing in the doorway was a man. He was tall, gaunt, wearing dirty gray coveralls. His hair was long and greasy, but it was his face that made me freeze. He was wearing a mask, but not a store-bought mask. It was a collage. He had cut out the eyes from my photos. He had cut out the smile from my wedding picture. He had taped them over his own face. He lunged at me. I swung the crowbar blindly. It connected with his shoulder with a sickening crunch. He howled, a sound that was more human than animal, and stumbled back. I didn't wait. I turned and smashed the crowbar into the kitchen window. The glass shattered into 1,000 diamonds. I threw myself through the jagged hole, cutting my arms and legs, landing hard on the wet grass outside. "Get back here!" he screamed from inside the house. I scrambled up and ran. I ran toward the road, my lungs burning, screaming for help. Headlights blinded me. A car was speeding up the driveway. It screeched to a halt right in front of me. It was James. I collapsed against the hood of his car, sobbing. "James, help me! There's a man inside. He tried to kill me." James jumped out of the car, but he didn't run to me. He didn't hug me. He looked past me toward the house. The intruder, the man, was standing on the porch, bleeding, holding the knife. I expected James to fight him. I expected him to call the police. Instead, James's face twisted in anger. He yelled at the man. "You idiot! I told you to wait until the insurance policy cleared next week. Why can't you follow a simple plan?" The world stopped. The rain stopped. My heart stopped. I looked at my husband. "What?" I whispered. The intruder took off his mask. Underneath, he looked just like James. They were brothers. "She broke the lock, Jimmy," the intruder grunted. "She found the shrine. I had to improvise." James looked at me then. His eyes were cold, dead. "I'm sorry, Em, but the debt Gambling debt is a nasty thing, and you are worth so much more dead than alive." He reached for me. I didn't think. I didn't breathe. I jammed the crowbar into James's stomach. He doubled over, gasping. I turned and ran into the woods. I didn't look back at the house. I didn't look back at the man I loved. I ran until the branches tore my clothes and the mud swallowed my shoes. That was 6 months ago. The police never found them. They disappeared. But they're out there. I live in a small apartment in the city now. I have 3 locks on my door. I check the closets every night. Sometimes, when the streetlights flicker, I see James's face in the window. And sometimes I hear scratching inside my new walls. But I don't check anymore. Some doors are better left locked. They say trauma leaves a scar on the brain, a physical mark. I believe it. It has been 8 months since I ran from the house at Blackwood Creek. I have moved 3 times. I changed my name. I dyed my blonde hair black. I live on the 4th floor of a busy apartment complex in Chicago now. There are cameras in the hallway. There's a doorman. I should be safe. I tell myself that every morning when I lock my 3 deadlocks. But today felt wrong. When I unlocked my door after work, the air in the apartment felt stale, shifted. I always leave my blinds closed, but one slat in the living room was bent, allowing a thin beam of light to hit the floor. And there was a smell. Faint, almost impossible to catch, but it was there. Bleach and vanilla. My heart stopped. I dropped my bag. I searched the apartment. The closets were empty. Under the bed was clear. No one was there. I went to the kitchen to pour a glass of water, trying to calm my shaking hands. That's when I saw it. Sitting on the pristine white counter. It was a small, black, digital voice recorder. I froze. I hadn't bought a recorder. I left my old one back there, back in the house. I stared at it. It looked old, scratched. There was a piece of masking tape on it with handwriting I recognized instantly. James's handwriting. It said, "Play me." I didn't want to touch it. I wanted to run, but my fingers moved on their own. I pressed the play button. Static filled the quiet kitchen. Then, a voice. My voice. No, please. It was a recording of me crying in my sleep. Then, James's voice cut in. Smooth, loving, terrifying. "You look so peaceful when you sleep, Em. Even with the new black hair. It suits you." I spun around, looking at the vents, looking at the ceiling. The recording continued. "We promised till death do us part, honey," James whispered on the tape. "And we meant it, honey. We aren't done. Look in the bedroom." The tape clicked off. I looked down the hallway toward my bedroom. The door was slightly ajar. Pitch black darkness inside. And from the darkness, I heard it. Click, click. The sound of a tongue hitting the roof of a dry mouth. And then, the scratching started. Not from the tape, but from under my bed. I didn't run this time. There was nowhere left to run. The front door clicked locked behind me. I stood in the hallway, closing my eyes, as the footsteps from the bedroom started walking towards me. Heavy, limping. I finally understood. You can leave the house, but the house never leaves you. This story teaches us a chilling lesson about the fragility of trust. We spend our lives fearing the dark, looking for monsters under the bed, while ignoring the dangers standing right next to us in the light. The true horror of this story isn't the ghost in the walls. It is the betrayal of the one person who swore to protect you. It reminds us that evil doesn't always have a monstrous face. Sometimes it wears a wedding ring and smiles at you across the dinner table. You can run from a haunted house, you can change your name, and you can lock every door. But you can never truly outrun the scars left by someone you loved. Be vigilant, because the moment you feel safest is often the moment you are most vulnerable. If you have the courage to face more dark truths, hit that subscribe button. Until next time, check your locks.